And welcome to another Cardinals Nest here on HBC TV 25. This is the show devoted to St. Mary's University and our athletic programs. I'm Dean Beckman, joined once again by our Sports Information Director, Donnie Netto. And Donnie and I always like to pick the busiest times of year for our head coaches to be on the show. And we've got our baseball coach, Nick Winecke, with us today, and his assistant, TJ Oakes, will be on a little bit later on the program. But Nick, I think it's an understatement to say this is a busy time of year for you. You've only got a couple of conference games left. You sit in third place in the conference standings. You've got all sorts of things going on right now, but an exciting time of year.
Yeah. It's this time of year is always great, especially when you're in the hunt of things and playing pretty good baseball. So busy's always relevant to what. So it's always a fun time of year for sure.
Fun time of year to be on the field. But as we were kind of joking off camera, you're spending more time on the Weather Channel or watching the weather forecast because it's been a crazy spring, just like it seems like it is every year. Talk a little bit about how you kind of keep it all in perspective, because we're already joking. You might get 2 inches of snow on Saturday. You're supposed to play on Saturday. How do you kind of keep it to where, you just kind of let that kind of stuff roll off your back?
Yeah, I think it's there's times where it's easier said than done. You wake up in the middle of the night at 3 a.m, you grab your phone and you check the weather. Like it doesn't make a whole lot of sense sometimes, but it's out of our control. So when it's out of your control, you kind of just roll with the punches a little bit. So.
I thought about this a couple days ago. With the technology that's come out, it seems like the ability for you to make a call in terms of whether a game's going to be played or not seems to be almost a little bit easier now than maybe it was 12 years ago when you started, because it seems like weather forecaster says 3 o'clock it's going to rain, 3 o'clock it's going to rain. So it seems like it makes it a little bit easier for you to kind of make those calls that sometimes in the past you weren't able to do.
Sometimes, except when they put 50% down, then it's a flip of a coin. But I have 3 different weather apps on my phone, and all 3 are going to say something a little different, so you just usually try to pick the middle ground and go from there.
So, Nick, before you came on the show this morning, I took a look at the conference standings, and what a jumbled mess it all is, right? You're 10-6, third place in the conference. You've got Gustavus and St. John right ahead of you, a number of teams right there with you vying for that third place spot. Kind of give us a sense of where things are at in the conference standings as you head into just 2 more conference games against good quality opponents.
Yeah, we have Bethel and Gustavus left, so we have 4 left. Our bye's the last round, so a lot of the teams still have 6 games to go. There's still an awful lot of baseball to be played, so I think it's a little bit early to be looking at what's going to need to get done or where in the standings. Just a lot can change over 4 to 6 games. So the biggest thing is just going out there and taking today as the most important day of the season. And when you do that approach, you don't get too far ahead of yourselves, and you just kind of focus on today.
The coaches in the conference picked you right about where you're sitting right now. What's been the biggest surprise for you, pleasant surprise for you this year for the Cardinals?
Yeah, I just think that overall, I don't think we've played our best baseball yet, so I think that's very promising. Now, I'd like that to happen here sooner rather than later. But I think the group so far has been just very, very tough and very consistent. They just believe in the road that we have kind of laid out in front of us a little bit, and they work hard. They're good teammates. They're good kids, and they just never get too high, never get too low. And when you do that, and with how tough our conference is, there's not an easy day. And it's really easy to go out there and lose 2 games in a day, and it's very difficult to win 2 games in a day. So to be able to stay consistent will keep you where you want to be and have a chance. And at the end of the day, that's all you want. You just want to have a chance.
It seems like this year your depth has been very beneficial. And I'm talking offensively first, but when you pencil in the lineup, obviously there's a couple that are automatics. You got Matthew and Justin in your top 2 spots, but your lineup changes, and it seems like that's been very beneficial to you this year, that you've been able to use more than just a lineup of 9 where you're every day putting in the same people, and it seems like that's been helping you out a little bit this year.
Yeah, I think there's just a lot of guys that have worked really hard to put themselves in position to get some opportunities, and you're going to kind of ride some hot bats a little bit when you're looking from the offensive standpoint. It'd be really nice if we had some guys that kind of solidified some of those spots, so we wouldn't have to kind of change it up so much. But that's life, and that's what you have to do, and guys need to be prepared for that. So, like I said, I don't think we've been great offensively. We've been pretty good. I think we'll start to turn it around here a little bit and hopefully get scoring some a little bit more runs.
Well, maybe that game doubleheader win over Augsburg where your team showed its toughness, but then also, won a couple of one-run games, including an 8-inning game in which you got a game-winning home run from Piowski in that one. So you think that's a game that can maybe jumpstart that offense a little bit?
With how good the conference is, you take a look across the board at a lot of one-run games and a lot of splits. That just tells you how much parity there is in the conference. And when you have that much parity and everybody's like one another, it's very difficult to sweep. So to get a sweep in our conference, I think, is a really big thing. We're very, very comfortable playing in really tight games. We've been in tight games all year against some really good teams. We lost some games early in the year against some very good teams and some one-run games. And back then I told the guys, hey, we're going to be better because of this come this time of year because you become comfortable in one-run games. And not everybody can say that. A lot of times you can have some teams that get in one-run games and they're not comfortable. They're nervous the whole time where, it seems good or bad. We've been in a lot of them, and the good side of it, we've come out on top on majority of them, especially in conference play. So I think that's always beneficial, and that's why we play a tough schedule.
And we haven't talked, you mentioned that you would like to see the offense kind of jumpstart a little bit, but from the pitching aspect, you guys have been really lights out. Your pitchers have really done a phenomenal job this year.
Yeah, they've done a great job, really a great job of throwing strikes. TJ, who will be on later, does a wonderful job with our pitching staff, and you can't ask for anybody better than TJ to work with the guys, so that's a huge benefit to us. But the guys have really bought into what TJ is teaching, and I think we've done a really good job. Luke Gilbertson gave us a great second start in the Augsburg game. He threw 7 balls the first inning. I think he threw 19 balls the whole game. Really started to get dialed in, and Eli came out and threw a great first game. And it starts for us with James Green on the mound, and Rise right behind him. So I've been very pleased. Our bullpen, we're starting to get some things figured out a little bit. So overall, I think they've done a really good job of kind of limiting mistakes. We've had some tough games on the mound, but I think majority of it has been very promising.
One of the pitchers that seems to kind of pop out in my head, especially of late, is Jake Kramlinger. He's coming out of the pen, picked up a win and a save against Augsburg, but really is a senior who didn't see a ton of innings early in his career, but really is kind of coming on as one of those people that you can rely on coming out of the bullpen.
Yeah, Jake as a sophomore pitched a lot of big innings for us, and then he had a little elbow injury towards the end of his sophomore year, which hurt us a little bit out of the bullpen. We could have really used him in the playoffs. His junior year, he kind of just rehabbed it and started to work his way back. And this year, we've seen a lot of what we saw his sophomore year, and it's been very good for us and reliable. But there's been a lot of guys. Joe Bauer, who actually we just converted over to a pitcher about a week and a half ago, has thrown an awful lot of big innings for us already. So there's been some bright spots for sure.
Can you explain that to the viewers? How do you go about changing a person from a position player to a pitcher? I mean, did he have experience as a pitcher before?
Yeah, he was Pine Island High School right outside of Rochester. He was their number one guy, and coming in, we also liked him as a position player, and as a freshman, you try not to overwhelm him. He played for us. He played a number of innings for us in the infield, and just because of how things were going, he didn't get as much time. And TJ came into the office, I don't know, about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, and said, "What about Bauer?" And at that point, we were kind of struggling a little bit out of our bullpen. And I'm up for crazy ideas, so put him on the bump later that afternoon, and we liked what we saw, and he's been really good for us. So
well, and Nick, I remember on previous shows you said when you recruit, you do specifically look for players with a lot of position flexibility because you don't know where you might need them, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And so Joe's a good example.
Great example of that. Matt Piowski came in as a shortstop. We played him a little bit at third, and then we moved him to the outfield, and he's been really good out there. So I think the biggest thing is we want baseball players, not third basemen or catchers or pitchers. We want baseball players. So there's more things you can do.
When you really see that a lot with this year's team, when Joey Costello is not playing short, you've got Zach moving over from second to short. You've got Justin Weinberg will catch one game and he'll be in center field in another. How important is that in terms of just is it hard for the players to adjust playing a different position?
I don't think so. I think it's just like you do when you're in the backyard as a kid. You throw the ball off the steps and you pretend you're an outfielder. You know, you're playing wiffle ball and you're going to hit left-handed when really you're right-handed. I think that's what I think athletics has kind of got away from a little bit. You come out to our practice, you'll see us moving guys around all the time. I think they need to get comfortable playing different spots, especially when you have a 25-man roster limit. You make some moves late in the game, you might have to put somebody over at third base that hasn't played over there all year. But it doesn't mean that person hasn't been over there in practice. So just having that flexibility, I think from a player standpoint, I think they like it. I think they like the freshness of it. They all think they can play shortstop and they all think they can pitch. So, sure.
Well, and I would imagine that they don't get bored either that way.
No, it does. It keeps things interesting a little bit. We've played some shifts on some teams, kind of like what you'll see in the big leagues a little bit, and our guys get excited about that. So yeah, you just don't do it to do it. There's a rationale behind it, but it does keep things.
Not to give away any secrets or anything, but talk a little bit about preparation for a game. Let's just Bethel on Saturday. How do you, as a coach, prepare your team for Bethel? Do you study hitting charts? What do you do to prepare your team for Saturday?
So the first thing we'll do is we work with a company called Diamond Charts that will give us some spray charts. Essentially, going to break down where they hit the baseball percentage-wise. So the whole field's broken down. You can kind of get a read there. And then from there, it's going through our charts from last year on the hitters. What did we throw? What did they hit? What pitches worked for them? What combinations? And then from there, it's reading play-by-plays to get a feel of how that team's going to play. Are they going to sacrifice bunt? Are they going to steal? And then if there is, we'll watch video just to get a sense a little bit of how the game's going, or somebody's on the mound and what are they doing? Who calls pitches? Does the catcher call pitches, or does the coach call pitches? So all those different things are be able to help you out, give you information.
And can you? On a break? All right. No, I was just going to say, can you give us again, not to give anything away, who calls pitches for you guys, and what is the rationale for how that goes?
Yeah, so TJ will call the pitches for us. Rationale is obviously, I think our catchers do a really nice job, but we have some information that they might not have. And at our level, we don't get to spend nearly as enough time with our guys to say, okay, hey, in this situation, against this hitter, we'd like to go. Example, today we play lacrosse. We're going to have guys come out to class 5 minutes before batting practice.
Right.
We don't have an hour to go through a scouting report and say, hey, if Donnie's up, we want to start off with breaking balls. So we just don't have that information.
Just throw a curve to me.
Yeah. So, and you know what? I trust TJ's brain pretty well. So.
Yeah. And we're going to get TJ on in just a minute. One more question, though, for you, Nick, quick. Last time we had you on the program, we talked clubhouse the entire time. At that time, though, it wasn't broken in yet. Now you've had a chance to break it in a little bit. So how have things been going in the new clubhouse?
Yeah, the guys have loved it. They're in there all the time. It's being used a lot. You can tell it's being used a lot. We got some scratches on some walls and just some wear and tear, but that's why we built it. We built it to be used, you know, and I think that's the biggest thing, and it's been a wonderful blessing for our program. Like I said, the guys are in there all the time.
Yep. So, all right, Nick Winecke, our head baseball coach. Good luck here the rest of the season as things wind down. TJ Oakes, the pitching coach, in next for the Cardinals Nest here on HBC.
Don't miss out on highlights and score updates from your favorite local college and high school athletics by following HBC TV 25 Sports. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to get up-to-date information on all the games covered by the HBC sports team. Grab your smartphone and add us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at HBC TV 25 Sports.
What's a Southern girl? It's waking up before the sun rises. It's loving the simple things in life, like the dirt roads that lead you home. It's working hard to get what you want. It's hanging your own stands, breaking your own ground, and strategizing every little move for that one moment when everything you've worked for is standing right in front of you. Even if I fail a million times, I keep pushing myself till I'm exhausted, filthy, and about to give up. And that's when the adrenaline hits.
HBC Community Wi-Fi is a system of wireless access points installed in public and private locations. Delivering community Wi-Fi to a remote campground or marina is an engineering challenge that can involve a lot of different technologies and require some creative thinking. HBC leadership is committed to delivering cutting-edge services to our customers and in the communities we serve.
Providing opportunities for residential and business customers. HBC is innovation and creativity.
Businesses of all sizes demand results. That's why HBC provides digital solutions for every business, from startups and entrepreneurs to large corporations. HBC is local. Our team of customer service reps and business specialists are your friends and neighbors. HBC will take the time to understand your business and recommend a tailor-made solution. HBC delivers a competitive edge for a competitive price. Let HBC Business Solutions take your business to the next level. Call 888-474-9995 today.
Be sure to check out US Golf TV, where you are going to see golf products that you have never seen before. You're also going to see golf tips from some of the leading instructors around the country that are truly changing the way people are teaching the game and challenging the status quo. Also, you're going to see fitness tips that are revolutionizing the way PGA Tour pros are training their body and swinging the golf club. If you want something different, if you're looking for some new information, US Golf TV has it. Be sure to check your local listings. US Golf TV, we've got you covered.
And we are back on the Cardinals Nest, where our focus this week is on baseball. We've got TJ Oakes, who's the assistant coach for St. Mary's, and kind of focuses on the pitching staff to help out Coach Winecke. And TJ, we just had Coach on, and we finished up the segment talking about the new clubhouse. And I don't think we've had a chance for you to weigh in yet on the new clubhouse. And I know you're going to have all good things to say, but, but what do you see as kind of the biggest benefit to the program of having this brand new clubhouse with the nice lockers and the nice hangout space and all of that?
I think first and foremost, just the team bonding, team aspect of it, a gathering place for all our players to build relationships. I think that's what it's all about. I don't think I've ever walked into the clubhouse and not seen at least a couple players in there, and that's at all times throughout the day. And that's cool, and that's why we built it for the team to gather together and to develop relationships together, and a place for us to have year round. Because in the past we only had a locker room during our season, so in the off season and fall ball we would never have a place that everyone could gather. So you kind of, after practice, you go your separate ways. But now after practice, everyone goes to a common spot. And that's pretty cool.
Now tell this faculty member what I want to hear. Are the study tables getting used?
Yes, they are.
Okay,
yes,
good.
They are. I see plenty of guys studying in there. And that's the nice part about having the lounge area and then having the locker room separate.
Yep.
Having a door in between the two so you can separate the two. So the lounge area, kind of more study, quiet time, and then the locker room, kind of more music, TV, video games, that type of stuff. So it's nice to have the two separate areas.
You know, you can give a good perspective, because we talk all the time about how this is, state of the art, and it's one of the by far the best in D3. But you played Division I. Can you compare it to what they had at the U?
Yeah, I think it's better than a lot of D2s and some D1s. I would say it's better than what I had at the University of Minnesota. We just had a standard locker room, didn't have a lounge area. It was just kind of a standard locker room with lockers. Obviously nice, but I think what we have is pretty cool. And like I said, the two separate spots is what makes it. The lounge area plus the locker room, I think, is what makes it. But yeah, it is state of the art, and it is very, very nice for the Division III level.
Yeah, how about minor league level? How does it compare there?
A lot better than a lot of places. There's a lot of older stadiums in the minor leagues, so a lot of rundown locker rooms. So I'll take this one over a lot of the minor league ones. Yeah.
We talked to Coach Winecke about, and he mentioned again that pitching has been such a key for you guys this year. What makes this year's staff so special?
I think just people buying into our philosophies, and coming out and working every day. And I think I put big emphasis on playing catch. And I think our guys really buy into that and develop command that way. I think too many programs and too many pitchers these days just throw a ball to throw a ball. And I always tell them every throw has a purpose. So if you take that mentality and you truly use that when you're playing catch every day, that's how you develop command, and then it transfers over to the mound. So I think that's the biggest part, is taking catch seriously and just buying into our philosophies. How do you manage a staff? I mean, you have a big staff. I mean, there's a lot of pitchers. How do you manage that? We know that James Green, Ryan Wolf, Luke Gilbertson, and Eli are your basic four starters, but you've got 16 other pitchers. How do you, as a coach, how do you manage it and make sure that everybody's getting in the work that they need to get in?
For example, like in the off season, we'll do individuals throughout the day,
You know, it's hard to do 19 bullpens during practice. You just don't have time. So what we do is bring them in throughout the day around their class schedule. So some guys will come in at 10, some guys will come in at noon, just throughout the day whenever they can get in and work with me one-on-one individually on the mound. And I think that's important to give everyone the equal amount of time. Because like I tell them all the time, you never know when your opportunity is going to come. You might have 0 innings pitched right now, but we might have 4 games in 2 days and we might need you. So are you prepared and are you developing and ready for that?
And how do you handle the fact that, you know, the different pitchers have different roles, right? I mean, you know, James Green, Ryan Wolf, Luke Gilbertson, they need to be the workhorses. You know that, they know that. But how do you deal with some of the bullpen specialists and what their roles are, and how do their workouts maybe differ a little bit from the James Greens of the world?
Yeah, so obviously starters are going to have a little bit different routines. They're going to throw a little bit more high intensity, more rep bullpens. And bullpen guys are going to have to be a little bit careful because they're used more. Maybe not necessarily more pitches, but you know, they could pitch today and they also could pitch tomorrow. So they got to be ready for that. So a lot of recovery, especially with the bullpen guys. The starting pitchers have, you know, ideally 4 or 5 days between starts, so they have that time to recover and that time to work on stuff, where bullpen guys just don't have that luxury. So it's a lot of recovery time on their own. A lot of just maintenance kind of, and that's what my biggest thing is. What I always use with our pitchers is FYA, and it says follow your arm. So whatever your arm tells you to throw this day, that's what you're going to throw. If that's 90 feet, you throw 90 feet. If that's playing long toss, pole to pole, that's what you do. You listen to what this thing says, and because I don't know how their arm feels every day. They can tell me something, but how does it really feel? So I kind of put it on them as FYA, follow your arm, and kind of recover from that.
Do you have a plan with the pitchers? You go into Bethel. We're going into Bethel on Saturday. Do you have a plan? James is going to start game 1. Does that mean everybody gets to just take that game off because James can pitch all 7?
He's hoping that's the case.
I mean, do you have like a list? Okay, if I need to go to the pen, this is who's going to go first. This is who's going to go second. Or is it more of a feel in the moment?
Feel in the moment. Every time you seem like you'd make a list, it usually never works out that way. Is what I found out here in my 4 years of doing this is, you know, you kind of before the game come up with a mental plan of, hey, this is this. Usually never works out that way because the game usually never works out the way you planned it to. So it's kind of just feel the game, and you know, honestly, a lot of factors into who threw good bullpens the day before, or who's playing good catch, or who's, you know, mentally ready in the dugout. So a lot of it. There's a lot of different factors that go into it, but a lot of it is just feel the game, situation of the game, who holds runners well. For example, if, you know, there's guys on base, we want someone who's going to hold runners better. Maybe they not have as good a stuff as somebody else, but they're going to control the running game better. So different things like that.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of James Green, I mean, he's got 3 complete games on the season, so he has been that workhorse that you've needed. 6-0 for a record. Talk about James Green. We had a chance to interview him here on the Cardinals Nest. He just seems very locked in and he wants that job of the '1 starter.
He's very, very determined, very, very driven. If he wants something, he's going to go get it. And that's pretty cool. His compete level is so high, and that's what drives him every single day. One of the hardest workers I've ever coached. A lot of people say, "Oh, yeah, he's got great talent, and that's why he has the numbers." But you know, you watch him work, and that's why he's good. He comes to practice the same every single day, and works his butt off, and gets what he wants. You know, so he deserves all the success that he gets. And throughout the off season, he's doing dry mechanics. Like I said, by far one of the hardest workers I've ever coached, and that's why he has success.
That's got to wear off too on some of the other people on the staff too. Because I mean, I look at this staff, and it just seems like depth-wise, you are so deep, so talented depth-wise compared to years past. And you've been here for quite a few years now. I've got to imagine this is one of the more talented staffs, top to bottom, that you've had to work with.
Absolutely, absolutely. I was just actually telling our guys a couple weeks ago, I think this is the most physical talent we've had since I've been here. I don't think it's the most mentally, I think we need more work to do. But physically, this is the most talented group that I've had a chance to work with, and that's cool where we can go, because we're still young on the mound. We still have a lot of young arms and a lot of experience, but going back to your point is I think they do learn a lot from James and our other starters. I think they feed off of those guys.
You know, one of the things I've always wondered, and you pitched, okay, so you can answer. How do you stay in the moment, in the game? You just started a game. You know you're not going to pitch for 5 days. How do you, as a player, make sure that you don't distract from players that are could be in that game that day? How do you do that?
Yep, good question. You just find a way to help the team. Whether that's being a great teammate, whether that's being an encourager, whether that's helping a younger guy. For example, our starting pitchers will keep charts, game charts. So after every game, our pitchers will receive charts from me, 2 different charts, and that's from our other starting pitchers doing those charts throughout the game with all the numbers. First pitch strikes, 2 out of first 3 strikes, leadoff hitter out, all that kind of stuff. How many breaking balls they threw for strikes. 'Cause I think it's important for our guys to have feedback. I don't just want them to pitch and then go to the next day. I don't know what I did well or what I need to work on. I want them to have feedback. So they will, after every game, they will receive feedback from me of what they did well, what they need to work on. I think that's very, very important.
TJ, how did you know Joe Bauer was ready to get back on the hill? Hadn't pitched since high school, now doing really well for you out of the pen.
I honestly really liked him in high school on the mound. Really, really liked him. And we're at the point where we needed a spark on the mound, and like Coach Winecke said earlier, is we were on the fence of having him do both right away, but didn't want to overwhelm him. Thought he had a chance to play for us right away in the infield, and obviously it's tough to play in the infield and throw every day and then also pitch. It's tough on your arm. At the point where he wasn't getting as many opportunities in the infield, let's get him on the mound. And inside it was like riding a bike for him. He was up there and threw nothing but strikes, multiple pitches for strikes, and that's what it's all about.
DJ, you, basically 2 weeks left in the regular season. Next Sunday, kind of an important day, Senior Day. We play Cohen in a non-conference doubleheader, but it's also Strikeout Cancer Day, and I know that's very near and dear to your heart. Talk a little bit about that day and what people can expect when they show up at the Max that day.
Yeah, very, very, very important topic for our family. Obviously, my dad passed away from leukemia in May of 2016, and he started the Strikeout Cancer campaign in the spring of 2013. So this will be the 6th year of it, and after he passed away, that was one of his wishes, that we continue to do that every single year, and it's a pretty cool way to honor him. And our family always takes the motto: if we can help just one more person, it makes it all the time and effort worth it. Just one more person. So basically, what it'll be raising money for LLS, which is Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. They do a wonderful job. All the proceeds go right to cancer research, and they're actually making some big time strides in the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, and actually the cancer that my dad had. They're making strides of how to cure it, and for us that's really cool. Do we wish they would have made some strides a couple years ago? Obviously yes, but like I said, if we can raise some money and have some research done to help just one more person, that makes it all worth it. So it will be raising money. We'll be selling Strikeout Cancer hats. It would be just a fun day of it's always about, life's always about something bigger than yourself. And I think we all have funds that we can fork over to help other people, and that's what life's about.
And TJ, I know just time for one more question here. One thing I've noticed with that Strikeout for Cancer Day is your players really buy into it and kind of go all in and help out with it, right?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. The support that we've had from our players has been awesome and kind of overwhelming for me.
Sure.
To see all that support. They all have done pledges.
Yep.
We'll do pledges for how many strikeouts we get that day. So it's kind of cool. Our guys will get jacked up and want as many strikeouts as possible. They'll collect pledges from their family members, collect pledges from friends and family, and it makes it kind of cool and kind of fun. So
good. All right, TJ Oakes, the assistant baseball coach for the Cardinals. Thanks for being on the show. Good luck the rest of the year here.
Thank you very much.
All right, that's going to do it for this Cardinals Nest. Thanks for watching here on HBC.